Previously on the poor mechanic she rejected became her sister's billionaire husband. Kenneth came with nothing but grease on his hands. She looked down on him, mocked and insulted him. But her humble sister looked past the grease and found gold. Now, the truth is out. The past won't stay buried. And love will be tested in fire. This is part 2 where destinies collide, forgiveness is tested, and the one who mocked watches everything slip away. If there was ever a night to test the soul of a woman, it was this one. The Obasi family mansion stood tall on Lagos Island, palatial gates, fountain-lit courtyard, palm trees lining a driveway so clean you could eat rice off it. Inside, warm yellow chandeliers cast a soft glow over marble floors. Portraits stared down from gilded frames as though they were watching history rewrite itself. And in the center of it all, Stephanie, the tailor from Lagos mainland, stepped into a world she never imagined. She wore a custom-made wine and gold lace gown designed by her own hands. Her braids were up in a royal twist. Her lips were soft pink, her face lightly powdered. Kenneth, in a casual white t-shirt and blue jeans, walked side by side with Stephanie into the family home. "Ready?" he asked, offering his hand. She took it. Not just for balance, but for courage. Dinner was held in a grand dining hall, beneath a chandelier large enough to crush a small car. Kenneth's parents, Chief Sam Obasi and Lady Stella Obasi, sat at the dining. Both were sharp-eyed and reserved. His mother was all grace and posture. His father, silent but calculating. Stephanie greeted with a deep Igbo curtsy. "Good evening, sir, ma." They nodded, studying her. As she sat beside Kenneth, conversations began politely, family, tailoring, Kenneth's surprise humility phase. Then Lady Stella leaned in. "My dear, do you truly love our son? Or do you love what he has become?" Stephanie didn't flinch. "I loved him before I knew who he was and what he had. When all he carried were spanners and a smile." Lady Stella watched her. Then slowly, she smiled. "Well then, welcome to the family." Just as dessert was being served, the butler approached Kenneth and whispered. His brows furrowed. "Let her in," he said. The door opened. And in walked a woman in a red gown, high heels clicking with power, belly slightly rounded. Kenneth called her name. "Pamela." Stephanie turned sharply. The woman walked straight to the table and stood in between Kenneth and Stephanie. "I'm pregnant. And it's yours." Kenneth just smiled. Then silence gripped the hall. Even the clinking forks froze. Stephanie blinked, barely breathing. Kenneth looked shocked. "What? Pamela, this isn't possible. We ended things over a year ago. We haven't spoken since." Pamela brought out an envelope. "DNA pre-match. Your name is there." Chief Sam frowned. "What kind of disgrace is this? Is this a prank or what?" Pamela's voice didn't shake. "I kept quiet until now. But when I saw your engagement post with this low-life tailor..." Lady Stella gasped. "Engagement?" Kenneth turned to Stephanie. "I was going to ask tonight. That's what this dinner was meant to be." Pamela smirked. "Perfect timing. Now your new bride knows she's not the only woman in your life." Stephanie stood abruptly. I need air." She turned and walked out of the dining hall, her heels clicking, echoing like a countdown. Kenneth followed. Outside the mansion, she wiped her eyes quickly. "Stephanie, I swear I didn't know. I've had no contact with her." "But the test," she questioned. "Anyone can fake papers." "I believe you, but I need time." He drew closer to her. "Don't walk away," he pleaded. She whispered, "I'm not. But I need to know I'm not just a backup plan for a broken story." And with that, she walked slowly down the driveway. Kenneth didn't chase her. He knew she needed to return on her own. Meanwhile, Lizzy, who went back to her usual dress code, was scrolling through social media when she saw the trending tag. #Obasi drama. Ex crashes billionaire dinner with pregnancy news. Tailor girlfriend storms out. Mechanic prince caught in triangle. She stared in disbelief. Her hands trembled. "I said it, Stephanie wasn't fit for that life, she muttered. Then a thought struck her. This is my chance. The next day, Lizzy paid a blogger to post photoshopped old pictures of her and Kenneth during the mechanic days. She captioned it, "Sometimes we reject gold thinking it's sand. But I never stopped loving him. Even after all the lies. #second chance." It caught fire. By noon, social media gossip pages were speculating. Lizzy, the real lover. Stephanie walks away. Lizzy returns. Could it be redemption? Staff at Obasi Holdings were not left out, as all saw the viral post. Back at home, Stephanie sat in silence. She didn't eat. Didn't sew. Didn't even open her prayer journal. Mama Dora brought her a cup of tea. "My daughter," she said gently. "No matter the storm, if a tree's root is deep, it won't fall." Stephanie looked at her mother. "What if the storm isn't outside, but inside me?" Her mother said. "Then you need silence. That's where God does his best healing." Elsewhere, Pamela met a man in a hidden corner of the street. It was Tunji. "Did you deliver the test result?" he asked. She nodded. "He thinks it's his." Tunji smirked. "Good. That slows him down. Gives us time to move." Pamela paused. "But the girl, she's not like the rest. She's calm. She's real." Tunji leaned forward. "Then that makes her dangerous." 3 nights later, Stephanie walked into her tailoring shop just before sunset. Kenneth was waiting, kneeling. No press. No cameras. No crowd. Just him, holding a real ring. "I've faced storms before. But nothing scared me like the thought of losing you." He opened the box. "I want to fight lies with truth. Let's build something they can't break." She whispered, "Yes." Behind them, unseen, a camera lens clicked silently. Lagos never sleeps. Especially not when gossip has fuel. By morning, the engagement photo of Stephanie and Kenneth had gone viral across social media platforms and national blogs. Not because of its beauty, but because of its timing. Just 3 days after Pamela's surprise pregnancy claim. The internet wasn't kind. The online firestorm began. At tea with Toke. Wait, he still proposed after finding out Pamela is pregnant. At Bella Buzz NG. So Stephanie no get shame? She want to enter billionaire family by force? At Nija I. Mechanic turned mogul. This just too sweet. But the tailor babe self no day respect herself. At Madam Realness. Lizzy was there from day one. Now they're pretending she was never part of the story. Nah. Stephanie sat in silence, reading each comment slowly, feeling their sting. But she didn't cry. Not this time. She simply turned off her phone. And sat all alone on her bed, sad and heartbroken. "Who are you becoming?" she asked herself softly. Her reflection whispered back. "A woman rising from ashes with grace." Back in the Obasi family mansion, Lady Stella sat in the dining with Chief Sam. "Stephanie is being dragged," she told her husband. And not once did she post to defend herself. Chief Sam Obasi said slowly. "She's quiet, like someone used to fire," he said. "I respect that." Lady Stella exhaled. "I still don't trust Pamela. That timing was too convenient." He nodded. "I'm already investigating it." Across the city, Pamela was panicking. She barged into the hospital where she had faked her early DNA match papers, but the staff had changed shifts. Her old contact, Nurse Bisi, was gone. And worse, someone from Obasi Holdings had shown up asking for authentic test verification. The walls were closing in. That evening her phone rang. It was Tunji. "Why are you panicking?" he said calmly. "You said you had everything under control." Pamela snapped. "They're sniffing around the clinic. If the truth comes out, then take the fall like a queen," he said, laughing. "Me? I'll be in Ghana by next week." She dropped the phone. Reality hit her like thunder. Despite the noise, Kenneth kept moving forward. He launched the Tailors of Tomorrow Empowerment Center, and gave full credit to Stephanie. She didn't wear diamonds. She wore her old clothes and a proud smile. TV reporters came. News reporters asked for interviews. But Stephanie only said one thing. Love stitched with truth never unravels. That quote trended for days. Lizzy sat on her bed watching the live broadcast. Her eyes bloodshot. Her hands shaking. She had been quiet, hoping Kenneth would remember her. But now, he was naming tailoring center after her sister. Her sister, who used to share old shoes with her. No. It was too much. She opened social media life and went on a rant. Let's stop pretending. I met and dated Kenneth first. When he was broke. When he smelled of grease. Lizzy. I was there. She went on and on, slandering Stephanie, mocking the tailoring school, and even calling Kenneth's humility a PR stunt. By the time she ended the live, over 14,000 people had watched. And over 3,000 had commented. But most were not on her side. The next morning, Pamela was summoned to Obasi Holdings. She entered the boardroom in silence, dressed in black sunglasses, attempting class. Kenneth sat at the head of the table with a document in front of him, the independent DNA test result. Pamela panicked. He slid the envelope across and he said calmly, "You're not carrying my child." Silence filled the air. She didn't blink. "I know," she whispered. "Why?" She looked away. "Because I needed to feel powerful again. Because I thought I deserved something back." He stared at her. "You deserve truth. And now you have it," she said slowly. "So, this is the end?" "No," Kenneth said softly. "This is your beginning. Whatever comes next is on you." Pamela left, head bowed. That night, Kenneth received a handwritten letter from his maid. It was from Lizzy. "I hurt you because I didn't see the man, only the mirror. I chased a shadow and mocked your light. I don't ask for love. I ask for forgiveness. Tell Stephanie she earned you. And I lost myself. Lizzy." He folded it carefully and threw it into a trash bin. Some chapters end with silence, not applause. As the world slowly quieted down, Stephanie finally responded with a short post. A photo of her sewing machine, the sunrise behind it. Caption: "I didn't steal anyone's man. I just saw him before the world did." Hashtag graced not chased. It shut everyone up. Even the blogs reposted it. And it went viral. Back at home, Mama Dora sat with Stephanie. She smiled. "Stephanie, do you know why I gave you Igbo name Chidera?" she asked. Stephanie smiled. "Because it means what God has written." "Yes," Mama nodded. "Because no matter how men rewrite stories, what God has written cannot be edited. And he wrote your name beside peace." That night, Kenneth received a call from an unknown number. A male voice said, "You think you've won, Kenneth. But the truth about your past, it's still buried. And I plan to dig it up. Say hey to your real enemy soon." Click. Kenneth stared at his phone, jaw tight. The peace was real. But the war wasn't over. There's a kind of peace that doesn't last. Not because it isn't real, but because certain wounds, left untreated, come back to bleed. For Kenneth Obasi, the call from the unknown number wasn't just a threat. It was a warning from a shadow he had locked in the past. And that shadow had a name. 3 days after the call, Kenneth received a brown envelope delivered without a return address. Inside was an old photo, 2 boys smiling in school uniforms. And scribbled on the back, "You took his life. Now you want to live freely?" Kenneth dropped it like it burned. Flashback. Years ago, before Obasi Holdings rose to billionaire glory, there were 2 sons. Kenneth Obasi, the older, obedient, destined heir, and Stanley Obasi, the younger, wild, hungry for shortcuts. Stanley died mysteriously abroad, during a business trip gone wrong. The family called it an accident. But Kenneth knew better. Stanley had run into debt, drugs, and something worse. Kenneth had bailed him out uncountable times. Until the final night, when Stanley seriously threatened to ruin everything unless Kenneth wired millions to cover a deal. Kenneth said no. By dawn, Stanley was gone. The guilt stayed buried beneath wealth. Until now. Kenneth traced the unknown caller to a man named Tobias, a former associate of Stanley, now resurfaced after years in hiding. Tobias had documents, photos, Audio tapes of conversations between Stanley and unnamed investors. He sent one message. "You will pay me $2 million, or I'll leak everything. And I'll destroy your name before your wedding." Kenneth stared at his phone reading the message for hours. He didn't tell Stephanie. He wanted to protect her. He told himself she didn't need to know about the ugly stains in his family. But secrets, like spilled oil, always find a way to surface. He began to show up less. When he did, he was distant, forced. She would ask, "Are you okay?" He'd nod. "Just business things." But his eyes no longer rested on her face. His smile didn't fully bloom. She began to wonder, is he already regretting me? Far from the drama, Lizzy had moved in with an aunt in Abuja to restart her life. No social media. No heavy makeups. Just sewing apprenticeships and honest labor. One afternoon, she received a letter from a foundation she had applied to months ago. She had been accepted into a Women in Fashion mentorship program. She smiled for the first time in months. And whispered to herself, "Even broken things can become art." Kenneth received a second envelope, this one with a USB stick inside it. It contained an audio file. He listened to the voice on his laptop. Stanley's voice. "Kane thinks he's better than me. But I'll ruin him. If he doesn't give me that money, I swear, I'll bring this empire to the ground." The voice was cracked and desperate. Then a second voice spoke, one Kenneth hadn't heard before. "We'll handle him. One way or the other." It was proof that Stanley's death wasn't just drugs or debt. It may have been murder. And now Kenneth was tangled in it. Late one night, Kenneth visited Stephanie. She opened the door. He looked different, eyes tired. "Are you sick?" she asked. "No." "Then what's going on?" They stepped inside the house. "There's something I've never told you. Something about my brother. About my past. About why I disappeared." And he told her everything. From the threats. To the guilt. To the extortion. When he was done, silence swallowed the room. She was overwhelmed by pain. Not because of what he did, but because of how long he'd carried it alone. She turned to him and said, "When you came to me as a mechanic, you had nothing but oil on your hands. Now, you have the world but blood on your shoulders. But neither changed the way I see you. Because both times, I saw you. Not your family. Not your past. Just you. If we walk this journey, it will be on truth. No more walls. No more protecting me. If you hurt, let me hurt with you." He nodded. He had found grace in the eyes of a woman who carried pain like royalty and wore forgiveness like a crown. The next morning, Kenneth called Tobias. "You can release what you want. The truth doesn't scare me anymore. Because I've already confessed it to the one that matters." And with that, he blocked the number. The next day, a blog post surfaced online. Exclusive, Obasi family ugly history exposed. Late brother linked to illicit deals. CEO Kenneth Obasi allegedly involved. It began to trend. But something unexpected happened. Thousands defended him. Including this comment from a verified user. "At graced not chased. He came to me broken and poor. He rose without stepping on anyone. He is more than his surname. And I will stand beside him in any storm." Stephanie. The storm had come. But it had no power over hearts that were already anchored. It had shaken foundations. But like all storms, it carried the promise of growth. Inside the towering glass walls of Obasi Holdings' boardroom, Chief Sam Obasi sat at the head of the table, his fingers steepled with stern authority. Around him, Kenneth and other board members, fierce men in tailored suits, shifted nervously. "Mr. Kenneth Obasi," began one senior director, "your family's history is under public scrutiny. These allegations threaten our investors' confidence." Kenneth, sitting confidently despite the weight on his shoulders, met every gaze. "This is not just about family. It's about the future of this company. I intend to lead us through." Another senior board member interjected, "We support you, Kenneth. But if public pressure escalates, we may need to consider temporary leadership adjustments." Chief Sam's voice cut sharply through the tension. Let me be clear. We stand united with Kenneth. But he must understand the business implications and be ready to adapt. Kenneth exhaled deeply. The storm was far from over. At her modest tailoring school, the air buzzed with excitement. Students stitch and sew fabrics and embroidered hope into every seam. Stephanie's phone rang. The caller ID read, "Empower Her Global Foundation." "Ms. Stephanie," the warm American voice said, "we've followed your work in Lagos and want to invite you to lead our upcoming empowerment workshop in New York. We believe your story will inspire many." This was the break she'd dreamed of, a chance to take her mission global. She rushed to share the news with Kenneth. His face lit with pride. "You must go," he said firmly. "This is your moment to shine beyond Lagos." One quiet evening, an envelope arrived at Taylor's of Tomorrow Empowerment Center addressed to Stephanie. Inside was a heartfelt letter from Lizzy. It read, "Dear Stephanie, I've spent weeks reflecting on my mistakes, my bitterness, and how I let jealousy poison my soul. I'm learning to sew my life back together, one honest stitch at a time. I don't ask for your love or friendship yet, but I ask for your forgiveness. May your path be blessed. Lizzy." Stephanie felt warmth flood in her heart. She replied the letter, inviting Lizzy to visit the school anytime. The wedding preparations were in full swing, the invitations sent, the venue booked, the guests eager, bridal shops visited. Then came an unexpected visitor, Pamela. Not with anger or accusations this time, but with a confession that stunned everyone. She revealed the truth about her fake pregnancy claim and begged forgiveness. Kenneth and Stephanie listened, emotions tangled between relief, sorrow, and compassion. Pamela's confession rippled through both families and social circles, marking a new chapter for everyone. A few days later, Stephanie prepared for the trip to the empowerment workshop in New York. As she packed for New York, Kenneth stood close beside her. "The storm is fierce, but so are you." She smiled, hands steady. "Rainwater's gold, Kane. And we are ready to shine." Together, they stepped into the future, stronger, wiser, and bound by a love forged in truth. The cool air of New York brushed against Stephanie's face as she exited the airport. Her workshop began the next day at the Empower Her Global Foundation headquarters with a humble speech. "I come from Lagos, where hope is stitched in fabric and strength in spirit," she said. "Today, we sew dreams into reality." Her hands moved with grace, teaching embroidery, sharing stories of perseverance. By week's end, her work had inspired countless lives and caught the eye of international designers eager to collaborate. Back in Lagos, Kenneth was no stranger to battle. The board had demanded transparency, and he responded by opening company records to independent auditors. Media outlets scrambled to report the clean results. The truth about Stanley's death emerged, a tragic accident, nothing more. With the scandal fading, investors regained confidence. Kenneth's leadership was praised, and his love for Stephanie became a symbol of resilience. Lizzy, too, was transforming. Through the mentorship program, she honed her tailoring skills and learned business management. Her humility blossomed, and she opened a boutique in Abuja where her designs were sold. In her tailoring shop, she had a letter from Stephanie inviting her to the wedding. She was excited. "I'm ready," she whispered. The most talked about wedding day came. Stephanie walked down the aisle in a traditional simple white lace wedding dress. Kenneth, with bright smile and eyes shining, walked beside her. They stood face to face and exchanged vows, promises of love, truth, and partnership. Lizzy attended the wedding wearing a mouth-dropping outfit and confidently posed for the cameras. As Kenneth and Stephanie exchanged vows, Lizzy was overwhelmed by emotions. She stared and tears not from bitterness but of joy and forgiveness rolled from her eyes. The sun shone brightly over Lagos as guests gathered at a lush garden venue. Colors burst in vibrant Ankara prints, laughter filled the air, and the aroma of jollof rice mingled with fresh flowers. After the ceremony, the three women stood. Lizzy reached out to Stephanie. "I'm sorry for everything," she said softly. Stephanie smiled. "You never lost me. You just lost yourself for a while." Mama Dora smiled, her face radiant. "This is the harvest of love," she said. "From seeds of pain, forgiveness grows." That evening, As the stars twinkled over Lagos, Kenneth and Stephanie stood on their balcony. Hand in hand, they watched the city lights. Kenneth whispered, "We made it through storms, lies, and shadows." Stephanie smiled, "And now, we build with gold, love's true gold." The night held promise. Their story, just beginning. And so, the same man she once mocked for smelling of engine oil, now smells of power, purpose, and peace. She thought wealth came in designer shoes and shiny phones, but he found true treasure in the quiet dignity of the sister she ignored. Life has a strange way of teaching the proud and lifting the humble. And in the end, it wasn't the loudest, the prettiest, or the flashiest that won. It was the one who saw value where others saw shame, the one who loved not for riches, but for the heart. Thank you for watching this heart-piercing African tale of pride, pain, and poetic justice. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to African Tales by Bro Divine, where stories come alive and lessons linger. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments section. Until next time, remember, life listens. Karma never forgets. Remain blessed.